YouTube! Today we're watching the Evansville tornado. It happened at 2 a.m. 2 a.m., dude. This here is by Weatherbox Studio. I have a link to the video and his channel in the description below if you guys would like to check it out. Let's not waste any time. Evansville. Evansville.
Mobile homes have been proven by researchers to be death traps in the face of even the weakest tornadoes. So what happens when a violent tornado goes through a neighborhood full of them at 2 in the morning? It's early November 2005. Temperatures are slightly above average across the contiguous United States. Peak fall colors have reached the...
Quick question. Guys, I think I've asked this before and no one really gave me an answer. If you lived in a mobile home and you knew a tornado was going to hit your area, are you staying in the mobile home or are you trying to get in your vehicle and outrun it? I want to see some answers to that question. Mobile homes only.
Midwest, Appalachian Mountains, and New England. Temperatures would take a nosedive in the Dakotas, lake-effect rain would ensue on the lee shores of the Great Lakes, and quite possibly some storms would fire along the cold front. In fact, the environment was decent for severe storms. This time of year is known as the second season, due to a return of the three big ingredients for tornadoes: surface moisture with cooler air aloft, wind shear due to a diving jet stream, and lift due to strong cold fronts. November 5th in particular looked mildly interesting. The advancing trough in the jet stream would push south over Texas, spinning up a surface.
Something I have learned, I know this is the second season, but at no point during the year are you apparently safe.
Flow, which would ride the trough to the east. While the wind speed would increase with height, known as speed shear, the wind direction wouldn't change that much. This directional shear is crucial for tornadoes. However, temperatures and dew points were forecast to be in the mid-70s and low 60s ahead of the cold front. Severe storms were absolutely in play. A deciding factor may be the storm mode. Would there be a linear line of severe weather or discrete cells? By overlaying the modeled cold front in the 0 to 6 kilometer shear vector, we can guess that a linear mode would be likely, such as a squall line. This would be a fast-moving cold front, and storms would be pushed into each other along the line as they moved northeast. Evansville residents woke up that morning of the 5th to humid air and foggy skies, noting the chance of severe storms late that evening. Temperatures rose and partly cloudy skies covered much of the Ohio River Valley by the afternoon. By 4:30 p.m., a weak outflow boundary, or a pocket of cooler air, pushed through west central Missouri, pushing this warm surface air up into the atmosphere, creating a cluster of storms. The National Weather Service issued a tornado watch 20 minutes later. While the tornado threat was still relatively low, the thought was the potential would be maximized before the storms formed a squall line. But this isn't always the case. Sometimes storms form in a less than ideal environment, but then move into an area with strong low-level wind shear. Even if these storms have formed a squall line, they are more likely to produce tornadoes once they reach the better environment. However, the tornadoes are less likely to be violent. This is exactly what happened on April 28, 2025 in southern Minnesota. Watch how this line of storms becomes wavy as it moves east into a highly sheared environment. What you're seeing is strong southerly winds at the surface rush into the base of these storms, creating inflow notches. Each one of these storms with an inflow notch has the potential to drop a brief tornado, but the chances of these tornadoes being violent or long-tracked are incredibly low. Back in Missouri, these storms continued to meander across the rolling hills, producing 2-inch hail in Monroe County. And by 8:30 p.m., the northern storms had formed a solid line. The southern storms over the Ozarks were still discrete, producing large hail looking pretty potent on radar. The two northern storms produced 5 weaker tornadoes near the Missouri-Arkansas border, knocking down trees in the heavily forested, sparsely populated hills. But then, by 11 p.m., the storms had weakened. A severe thunderstorm watch remained for the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, but that too was canceled at 11:30. In Evansville, it was quiet, warm, and muggy as residents went to bed. But high in the atmosphere...
Oh no. So like these people were just under a severe thunderstorm watch and they thought all was clear as they were going to bed.
A major change was occurring. A fast-moving band of winds within the jet stream called a jet streak had moved east at breakneck speeds, wrapping around the trough axis, which was beginning to exhibit a negative tilt. As these winds spread out across the Ohio River Valley, the column of low pressure stretching towards the surface deepened rapidly. Warm, moist air rocketed northwards into southern Indiana and Illinois. Dew points reached 63 degrees by midnight. While the arrival of the jet streak was expected by Weather Service forecasters, the storm mode was not. 3 discrete cells still existed along a broken line near the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers just after midnight. The 60-mile, highly sheared corridor to the east boasted storm relative helicity values of 370 meters squared per second squared, which could re-intensify these storms, invigorating their rotating updrafts and quite possibly produce a few significant tornadoes. Storm relative helicity measures the potential for rotation within supercells. During the cold season, from November to April, parameters don't have to be off the charts for tornadogenesis.
Why is OK marked on the side of that car? It doesn't look okay.
This corridor is what's known as a low cape, high shear environment. When looking at the temperature profile of the atmosphere, the cape, or potential energy, is proportional to how fast air from the surface will rise in a storm's updraft. The faster it rises, the stronger the updraft, the healthier the storm, and the more likely tornadogenesis will occur. Several studies, including one by Jonathan Davies in 2007, have shown that not all cape is created equal. The vast majority of mixed-layer cape is located between 3 kilometers and the equilibrium level, the point at which surface air stops rising freely in the atmosphere. But the potential energy that exists below 3 kilometers, kilogram of cape in the atmosphere near Evansville, Indiana that night, 60 joules per kilogram, was measured below 3 kilometers. When looking at a myriad of significant cold season tornadoes, these numbers are very near the median values of total mixed layer cape, low-level cape, and storm relative helicity. When the low-level cape dips below 60, the chances of a cold season tornado appear to plummet. The storms are now moving into the primed corridor, and within a few reflectivity scans develop the classic kidney bean shape of a rotating supercell. At 1 a.m., the northern supercell developed a broad mesocyclone on the southwest flank of the storm. Moving northeast at over 60 miles per hour, the circulation crossed into the Ohio River Valley, where it likely experienced a small increase in southerly inflow due to topographical convergence. Small disturbances as such can induce tornadogenesis, and that's exactly what happened in the southern floodplain of the Ohio River Valley. At 1:32 a.m., the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning for Henderson and Posey counties along the Ohio River. A tornado touches down northeast of...
So they did give them a warning. But it's 12:30 a.m. Most people are going to be in bed, dude. Not have a clue.
Smith Mills and churns through the fertile soil. The first structure to be hit was a home along Green Road. The entire second story was lifted and the exterior walls were removed, exposing the living room, water heater, and kitchen. A tree limb was embedded within the wooden siding. A pickup truck was rolled several hundred feet northeast through a field. Across the way, a barn was folded with twisted sheet metal scattered across the grass. The tornadic winds remained consistent at above 150 miles per hour after crossing the...
Yeah, most of these people are not going to have a clue, man. Not a single clue.
The Ohio River. And then...
The National Weather Service in Paducah, Kentucky has issued a tornado warning for southern Vanderburgh County in southwest Indiana until 2:15 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Except something might have been wrong with NOAA weather radio that evening. Evansville EMA reported they received no alerts for the approaching storms on their weather radios. When the Vanderburgh County warning was finally issued, EAS was activated on all television and radio broadcasts, again at 1:45 a.m. Not many people were watching. The sirens did sound at approximately the same time the tornado left cycloidal marks in the fields along the river. Chief Meteorologist Wayne Hart was live on News 25 showing the path of the circulation, urging residents to seek shelter. Although this was a few years before dual polarization radar was introduced, and having no damage reports for the first few minutes of the warning, Wayne had a suspicion that the velocity signature he was seeing was, in fact, an ongoing tornado. The tower cam, located along the river, was quite close to the tornado, however was unable to see through the heavy rain and hail, with winds steady at just under 150 miles.
Dude, this is like we've seen this before. We've played these games before. It's super late at night. No one's awake. It's super dark. It's raining. And some of the technology just isn't there.
Per hour, the tornado struck the grandstands at the Ellis Park Thoroughbred racetrack. At 1:59, the Weather Service extended the radar-indicated tornado warning into Warrick County to the east, but the Weather Service had not received any confirmation of damage. Flying northeast, the tornado stayed south of Interstate 69, avoiding the entire Evansville metro, except for the single low-income community severed from Evansville by the interstate. The Eastbrook Trailer Park, consisting of over 300 mobile homes.
Pure evil. It bypasses everything else and heads straight for the mobile home park. That's tough. We know what's about to happen here. And that falls back to my question. What would you all do? If you knew you're in a mobile home, a rather strong tornado is coming your way, what do you do? Underground shelters are not an option right now. We're going to pretend that, you just can't walk out your door and get in a underground shelter. You have two options. You either hunker down inside your mobile home, or you get in your vehicle and take your chances.
Homes and RVs was directly in the path of the tornado. The over 150-mile-an-hour winds were well above the threshold needed to pulverize a mobile home and kill anyone inside. And this is where the tragedy occurs. Brandy Moorfield, a stay-at-home mom, was buried under rubble. Glenda Sprinkle, who was staying with their son Denzel, one of the first to be hit by the tornado. Hilda Simmons, a retired pediatric nurse at St. Mary's Medical Center. Beverly, Jean, Brandon, and Isaiah Blaylock were killed instantly. Patricia Jones, a parish nurse at the St. Mary Catholic Church. Glenn Reed, a casino dealer in 4 states. Jesse and Emily Donner, a father and daughter, Emily being only 6 years old. Laura Ferguson, tossed 2 blocks by the twister, initially thought she was okay, but fell victim to internal injuries 6 weeks later. Matt Polk, a former Navy Seabee engineer who was visiting his girlfriend Melissa at the time. Kyoko Duncan, a Japanese immigrant mother. William Scholar, a former St. Louis homicide detective. C.J. Martin, a 2-year-old boy, along with his grandmother Julie and great-grandmother Jean. Amy and Michael Holbert, who had just purchased their mobile home a week prior. Michael's body had been thrown 100 yards into the retention pond to the south of Eastbrook and was found when the pond was drained a day later. The tornado had now managed to strike the worst possible place, at the worst possible time, on a night where a line of gusty storms was the expectation. The southern half of the trailer park lay unrecognizable, with many modular homes wiped clean off their concrete lots. Bodies lay in the fields surrounding the retention pond. Insulation dangled from nearby trees like Christmas ornaments.
Dude, there's a little kid's green pool, like those little frog pools. Some people use them as a little sand pits too. That's people's lives, dude. Just keep that in the back of your head when you're looking at that. That's people's lives, their belongings, their home. It's just, man.
Residents on the north side of Eastbrook described waking up to what they thought was an earthquake. 70 animals were recovered from the mobile home park in the coming days. As the tornado flattened the forest at Angel Mound State Park, a bolt of lightning lit up the sky behind the funnel. A security camera 2 miles northeast at the Deaconess Hospital captured the only image of
So this is the only image they have of it. What a monster. That's pure evil, dude. Right over the south side of that, a mobile home park.
Of the tornado, a large cone with heavy rain directly behind it. Crossing into Warrick County, the vortex spent only a couple seconds atop each home in southwestern Newburgh, peeling roofs, blowing out windows, and snapping tree limbs. It paraded through central Newburgh, exploding poorly constructed homes near the narrow center of the vortex. Ron Karn on Elm Drive had his shirt physically removed from his body by the powerful winds. When his sister Kim helped him dig through the wreckage, she found one of his old grade school report cards containing a pencil sketch of a tornado. A remarkable coincidence. 90 seconds after leaving the Newburgh residential area, the tornado reached its maximum intensity, slicing the Van Road Industrial Park. Ballooning to over 500 yards in width, the over
500 yards wide. Sorry, I'm just looking through the destruction here. This is they've already started the cleanup process, obviously.
170-mile-an-hour winds gutted several warehouses, leaving warped steel support beams in its wake. Semi-trucks were rolled and crumpled like soda cans. A few miles to the northeast, Melinda Hadley was asleep in her family home on South Yankeetown Road. She and her father Carrie had returned from a wedding in Jasper a few hours earlier. After chewing through the forested hill to the west, the tornado slammed into the small house, lifting Carrie.
Dude. People's lives, dude.
And Melinda into the air and dropping them into the field behind their home. Melinda, only 18 years old, passed away from a severe head injury upon impact. At 2:11 a.m., the National Weather Service issued a subsequent tornado warning for Spencer County to the east, and this time the tornado was confirmed. Moving at 55 miles per hour, the twister approached the rural community of Dagonia Springs. Cheryl and Jeremy Warren lived on France Road in their mobile home with their 4-year-old son Isaac. When the tornado hit, their mobile home exploded and they all suffered severe injuries which led to their death. Unfortunately, Cheryl was 8 months pregnant. When she was eventually found, doctors rushed her to the hospital to deliver the stillborn baby, Elena Warren, who would be buried in the casket with her mother. In a matter of seconds, an entire family was gone. The cruel twister began to occlude south of Tennyson and lifted a few minutes later. The storm outran the narrow corridor of instability and would not produce another tornado. 25 people were killed in southern Indiana by this fast-moving, poorly forecasted tornado. When facing adversity, it often comes down to how you respond. Several incredible things happened as a result of this cruel storm. The day of the tornado, James Gupton, an EMT from Virginia, had suffered a crippling heart attack and was in need of a heart transplant. Brandy Moorfield was an organ donor and happened to be a match. Soon after she was pronounced dead, her heart was harvested and successfully implanted into James, effectively saving his life. C.J. Martin's mother, Catherine, realized that many mobile homes aren't equipped with NOAA weather radios. Catherine launched a campaign called CJ's Law that would require NOAA weather radios to be installed in all new and relocated mobile and manufactured homes. It successfully became an Indiana law in 2007, and while it made noise at the Capitol, it was never adopted at the federal level. But Catherine didn't stop there. She turned a school bus into a mobile safe haven for children who were affected by violent tornadoes. She named it CJ's Bus after her son, and it was on site in Tuscaloosa after the 2011 super outbreak. offering kids
Hey.
a safe space to play and feel at home.
That's
She
cool.
is a hero in every sense of the word. Today, a memorial for the victims of November 6th stands at the edge of what is now the Waterford Point Mobile Home Park. While we have come a long way in tornado science since 2005, there's no safe way to shelter in a mobile home during a tornado warning. In this instance, nobody knew it was coming, so nobody left. There was nothing that could be done, and statistically speaking, it will absolutely happen again. Stay weather aware and stay safe.
All right. That's just sad, dude. And RIP to all the victims, of course. I've reached a point, especially after starting this series, like if we have potential for bad weather, like I stay up all night, just go grab a couple monsters and, do my thing. But I think anybody in that situation, you drop down to a severe thunderstorm watch. Like, so you're thinking like, oh man, at worst we might get a little hail, maybe some rain. So you go to bed. Your life doesn't stop because there's a very, very small chance for some bad weather. It doesn't stop if there is bad weather, right? I mean, work goes on. You still got bills to pay. You need sleep. And it's just with worst case scenarios. Everything went wrong. And the tornado hit this mobile home park, trailer park, essentially, right? Man, I know it'll spark a little debate. I'm just saying, like I'm hopping in my like, if if I catch the warning a little bit and I have a little bit of time, I'm hopping in my car, and I'm going to someone else's house. I am not staying in. I would not stay in a mobile home. That's just me. Okay, I am not a professional. Okay, I'm not a meteorologist. Started learning about this stuff like a month and a half ago. So don't take what I'm saying here to heart. I'm just telling you what I would do, because I know like even weaker tornadoes just absolutely demolish mobile homes. I'm taking my chances and doing my thing. That's just me. But yeah, let me know what you guys would do. Let me know what you guys would do, because that's a tough one, man. I feel like that's a very tough one. Once again, RIP to the victims of this. Sadly, things like this are obviously going to happen again. But that's one of the bright sides of doing this series. It's what it started off as. Number one, I get to learn. Number two, people that come in here get to learn, right? I mean, who knows how many other people, just seen, thought it would pique their interest. They come in here and they learn something, That's what it's all about at the end of the day. And, it's funny, because there's a lot of people out there that are very educated in these storms, whatever. They come here and they see it and they get a little kick out of it. And a lot of you all also share a lot of good information too down in the comments. I've learned a lot just from you guys talking in the comments. But yeah, man, that was the point of the series. Number one, I get to learn some stuff. Number two, the people that come and watch it may be learning as well. They may be learning as well. But yeah, man, take your warnings seriously. But what can you do in a situation like that? You go to bed, severe thunderstorm watch. Next thing you know, there's like a very strong tornado ripping through your trailer park. RIP, dude. Alright, guys, I am Cheap. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. We'll catch you in the next one.